Hey, we're live. Well, hello, PaleoFX tribe. It has been a minute since I have been on. I'm probably a little rusty in the interview category. Hopefully, Dan will help me through this. I'm sure he will. He's helped me through before. So first of all, let me introduce Dr. Dan Stickler, who is the Chief Medical Officer and the co-founder of Apeiron. He's also a personal doctor to Michelle or myself.
To my shed.
That's actually my nickname for her. That was a Freudian slip, I guess. It's actually my nickname for her. If you look at any card I've ever given her, you will see my-shell on there. Just a little romantic interlude at the onset here. Didn't intend for it to go that way, but there we are.
Yep.
Dan with his team at Apeiron are actually Michelle and I's personal doctor and team. And we so enjoy working with them because, there's one thing to be a functional medicine leaning doctor who is well steeped in science, but there's quite another to actually put that into practice in the real world, working with patients who want to not just stabilize, but optimize their health. And Dan, I think that's what we should dive into right now. There's a big difference in just stabilizing one's health versus maximizing one's health. There's that. And then there's actually becoming anti-fragile so that you can resist and become stronger from the things that we encounter in the natural world. So I'd like you to kick off with the discussion on that, because if you stay tuned to the end of this, we're going to have a special offer for you. So stand by.
So I think it's best probably to start off with defining a couple of terms here. Antifragile is a neologism that was coined by Nassim Taleb when he wrote his book, Antifragile, but it's really applicable to health in general. When we look at the fragile human will face a challenge to the system, whether it's physical, whether it's an infection, whether it's emotional or stress, and they will deteriorate as a result of that encounter. Then we have what's called robust, which robust isn't truly the antithesis to fragile. Robust is kind of in between there, and I kind of put that in with resilient, where you can face a challenge and face it fairly well and come through on the other end without much of an impact. The anti-fragile state leverages challenges in the fact that you can go into this, you will face it, and you actually come out the other side as a stronger human being. You developed a kind of new trait that becomes emergent in your new you, and that's really what we work for with our health, with our immune system, is to create that anti-fragile so that it makes you stronger against something that may come along. I mean, we've always talked about hormesis, and hormesis is really taking low doses of a toxin, in a sense, to make it so that if we're exposed to a large toxin, a large burden of the toxin, it doesn't affect us. Antifragile is almost like that, because we can create, like in this situation right now with COVID, we've got basically either a fragile or a robust immune system. And what we want to do is build anti-fragile, where we take this challenge that we have to the human system and make it stronger in general. So we want our immune system not only to resist the COVID, but we also want it to be stronger because of it. And that's what we work with.
Right. And this has been the basis of effective physical training we didn't know what it was up until, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago or so, and realized that they put a system under stress, enough stress, not too much stress, the system bounces back more stronger in the case of physical training than it was before. And there's a balance. Obviously, too much poison is too much, and that pushes the system into failure. But enough of a enough of a push to make it come back stronger. And it makes biological sense that would work everywhere, in the immune system, emotionally, in every facet of one's life.
Yeah, and you mentioned exercise. I mean, weight training. Look at it. I mean, it is truly a huge stressor on the body. I mean, you're tearing muscle, you're creating more reactive oxygen species than anything else you can do in a day. And, you know, this free radical component of health and aging is always said, oh, you don't want all these free radicals. And the truth of the matter is you do, to create antifragile, because you tear that muscle, you create inflammation, you have challenged and stressed the body. But the result is that the body adapts and says, oh, if this is going to happen, I've got to get stronger. And so you build the muscle, you become stronger, and you become anti-fragile.
Right. I think one of the tools maybe that we're missing in this culture is the overall system has to have the energy, for lack of a better term, the energy reserves to be able to recover from that stress. And to the extent that we don't have that energy reserve, we're at a severe disadvantage. And maybe you can address that a little bit. What is it that we can do to make sure that we have an energy reserve, and whether it's emotional energy or actual physical energy?
Well, you know, most of the problem with health is that we work on predictions and not on, or we work on these predictions of, okay, this is what I could potentially be faced with, so this is what I'm going to be doing. And you don't want to necessarily work on predictions. You want to work on that foundation, that constitution that the body has. I mean, you know, let's look at COVID right now. I mean, this is, you know, if you're out there relying on and crossing your fingers and waiting for that vaccine to come to feel comfortable, you're screwed. I mean, this is not the way it's going to happen. This COVID is an RNA virus. It's going to be with us for years now. It's going to cycle like the flu. And you see how good we are with predicting vaccination strains for the flu. I mean, there's been 198 mutations that they've identified in the COVID already. And most of them are actually, and here's the thing with most viruses, they don't tend to get more pathogenic or more deadly in that regard. They tend to either stay the same or make it actually easier on the system. But in general, we're going to be facing this. Now, in an anti-fragile person, it's not like, okay, we're predicting what's coming. We're protected against everything that comes, you know, and it may be a new virus. I mean, they've already talked in China about the new virus that is a new swine flu that's coming. It doesn't bother me that this is happening. You know, I've gone through this entire process in confidence. I didn't go into it with fear. I prepared for certain things, and I took my mitigation seriously, but I wasn't afraid of getting it. I was like, oh, you know, heck, if I get it, I get it. And I'm going to do well with it, most likely, because my immune system's there. This was even back when they were predicting like a 5% hospitalization and all that. And now we know, you know, in our age group and our health levels, I mean, our risks are extremely minuscule of that, but there are outliers, and that's what people hear about. You know, it's like people worry about flying on a plane rather than driving in a car, but you know, the risk is significantly higher in the car. It's just something that you don't feel like you have that control over. I feel like I have control over an aspect of this because I'm healthy and my immune system is strong, and I work on things to make my immune system strong. I'm not waiting to predict what's coming. I'm waiting to be ready for anything that comes.
Right. And I think, you know, to the extent now that people, the good thing of this whole scenario, and I try to find the silver lining in everything, even though days like today, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this whole thing. I try to find the silver lining. The silver lining, I hope, is that people would begin, I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but people outside of our health and wellness bubble will begin to take their health and wellness seriously. Because
well, that's what we've seen. I mean, we've seen an enormous uptick in things. I mean, you know, we have multiple revenue lines essentially, and you know, when the lockdown hit, our 2 clinics shut down completely, and we were able to maintain all of our employees, keep them on salary, and not cut back anything because we had other revenues. This is an example of a business being anti-fragile.
Right.
You know, we're prepared if the internet goes out, or if the society shuts down, we've got different revenue streams. That's an example of anti-fragile from a business sense. Our online store tripled.
Did I lose you, Dan? Did I lose you? If can somebody post and tell me which one of us is frozen?
Oh, there we are.
There we are. Got you back. Okay.
That our supplements are designed to boost the immune system, and so we were able to increase revenue there when we're losing revenue over here. But we're also seeing that a ton of people are coming in and wanting to focus on health now. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks, we've had 7 new clients come through, which is unprecedented. I mean, we usually do 3 a month on that, but in the last 2 weeks, we've had 7 come through. People are reaching out from all over the country and saying, "Hey, I'm waking up to the fact that I'm going to have to maintain my health. I'm not going to be able to rely on the medical system and all of this to take care of me. When something happens, I've got to take care of myself."
Right. And it's good to see that people are waking up to that. And we are the leading edge, right? You are the bleeding edge. You attract bleeding edge thinkers. Let's hope this trickles down very, very quickly to, I hate to put it, but the common person, right? The person who spends 18 hours a day working and doesn't really have time to soak in a whole lot of information other than what they're browbeat with mainstream media. Let's hope somehow this information gets out to them too, that they do have agency of their own health and wellness, and they're not at the mercy of anybody else should they choose to take responsibility and take it on. And that's really what it takes. It's got to be a personal decision and a personal responsibility decision. I think you just froze again. Oh, internet. Come on back, Dan. There he is.
I think your internet is not anti-fragile.
It's not. It definitely is not. But the good side is they have temporarily stopped cutting the tree over here next to me. So hopefully all of that bleed over is done. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for that. Sorry. All right. I had a very salient point. It was so smart, and I completely lost it. If it was that smart, it will come back to me here very, very soon. I know what I wanted to ask you. Have you ever read the book Thinking in Bets by Annie? Oh gosh, what's her last name? I can't remember it. But I think if there were 2 books I would recommend to people, Antifragile would be one, because just that mindset of being anti-fragile, I love that book. The second book would be Thinking in Bets by Annie. I cannot remember her last name. I'll have to look it up. But the whole idea that life itself is not chess, right? Chess is a very logical, straightforward. There is one best move. Ever how the table is set up, there is one best move. This is why AI is so good at chess. And when we talk about thinking in bets, life has a way of throwing these curveballs. There's possibility. There's all of these things. The best poker players realize that, and they play from this base of what I would call anti-fragile decision making.
Yeah.
Right. And it's thinking in bets that way. It's how are the cards laid out? How have the people played their hand? But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than what is in your hand, so to speak. And I think that is a great way to be anti-fragile in thinking.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Dan, because this is one area of life that this is going to be very self-serving, but hopefully many people can relate to this. One area of my life where I find that I am not anti-fragile and I'm trying to navigate around that is, so for instance, we just came back from Florida last night. This was supposed to be a vacation for Michelle and I with a group of our friends. And I find that even with all the work that I've done on myself, I am the world's worst vacationer, because I get about 2 hours in of lounging around and I am like, I am freaking done with this. I've got work to do. I've got this to do. I've got a world to change. And it just goes on. And I can't get my brain to settle down and just freaking take it easy for a while. And I think this is I don't want to say a disease, but an affliction of many type A personalities that I'm around. And, I've tried the meditation thing. I've tried all kinds of things. And I can't get my system to settle down and just chill out. So I thought,
so that's a big area we work with. I mean, that's mindset.
Right.
And, just hearing you talk about it, I have to do this. I've got to get this done. That's a mindset of just desperation. In our clinic and on our staff, we have 2 full-time, basically mindset coaches, Megan Foley, who is a sports psychologist, and Michael Osterling, whom I know you're familiar with.
Yep.
Michael he is the head of the mindset coaching with SealFit,
right,
and also a psychologist. But we spend a great deal of time working with mindset and people because it's a big part of the overall picture. And let me go down that road a second, because everybody is looking for treating one thing or getting to the root cause. Okay, I just want to say root cause is the biggest myth that has ever been propagated by functional medicine. There is rarely, if ever, a root cause. I mean, this all came about back from the germ theory of disease, where it was a linear thinking process where you have, this bacteria equals this disease, and it translated across the entire ecosystem of health. And now, the mantra is, let's get to the root cause of this. There is never a root cause, a single cause. I mean, other than in some sense the bacteria, but even then it's not linear. You have to look at the entire human system as a whole, as an integrated oneness,
right,
rather than breaking it down and saying, I can't. And so when we work with clients, I mean, we do a wide swath. I mean, it's a full 2-day intake on top of days of pre-work leading up to the 2-day visit. But we're working with the mindset, we're working with nutrition, we're working with sleep, we're working with genetics, we're working with the labs, we're working with heart rate variability. I mean, heck, we've got people wearing 3 days of a heart rate monitor, an EKG, that we monitor 300,000 heartbeats over a 3-day period to see how they respond to different things that is occurring in their world. And that's where everything falls apart. I mean, just even like environmental design, people don't think about their environment. And right now, there was a study came out of Denmark, I think, that talked about how the indoor air quality has deteriorated so dramatically because of this lockdown.
right.
And so we are in indoor air pollution that is doing devastating things to our health right now.
Michelle and I talked about this for a while. She was like, why is it that you feel like that you can't relax? And I thought about that for a while, and it was I really love what it is that I do, and to take time away from it, I feel at a loss. So it's like this double-edged sword. Right? It's like being a creative and needing to take time from the actual doing, so that your mind has a chance to come up with some new creative idea. And it's like that double-edged sword. I love creating, ergo I want to create all the time, and not take a step back and let there be a regeneration process.
Well, why can't that vacation be creative in that regard? I mean, when I go on vacation, I'll come up with a new idea for a new program while I'm sitting on the beach, or while we're out for a run or anything like that. I mean, I look at these things as new, kind of almost a new consciousness in that regard. Why do people microdose with LSD and MDMA and psilocybin? It's because it takes them out of their routine, and it gives them that ability to open the mind to new possibilities. So when you look at vacations and you look at, taking time to exercise and all of this, you can also look at that as that creative piece, that leveraging the creativity of that new environment and using it that way.
Yeah. And it's, I have done that. Yes. I am getting better at that. Yes. I still realize that it is an Achilles heel, and it's probably my biggest Achilles heel right now.
Well, and as long as you're going to look at it like that, it will always be that way.
What I wanted to bring up too, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's an Achilles heel, ergo it's always going to be an Achilles heel, and it just self-perpetuates. But it is one of the things that I have, decided to play with, to work on, and to get through, because I really, and this is something Michelle brought up too. She's like, you're at a point now where you can enjoy some of the fruits of all of your hard work, and irony of all ironies, you don't want to enjoy the fruits of all your hard work. It's like, she's like, do you not see this? And it's like, yes, I do see it. And, it's just one of those things. It's so easy to fix somebody else's problem, right? You look at somebody else's, but my problem is so complicated, nobody can fix it. And that's kind of that self-deluding trap that I think that we all fall into. And it's, it was just one of those things that was just brought to the forefront to me this weekend, because it was a beautiful time. It was a great place, surrounded by lovely people, and I had to really work at relaxing, which is totally crazy. I mean, who works at relaxing? It was just totally nuts. But yeah,
I'm gonna hold you to that tomorrow night at the barbecue. So
okay, please do. But all of that said, this is part of an overall healthy person that I think many people in many organizations, and for sure most Western medicine, just is a complete blind spot, and they wouldn't even look at. But your people do look at it, and not only do they look at it, and I'll let you talk about this. This is a lead-in to let you talk about the Antifragile program that Apeiron has created, and could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we had this in play. We were working on it prior to the whole COVID thing, and the COVID hit, and we're like, oh, this is perfect. So, our team is made up of people who are truly representative of Antifragile. I mean, we have Kirk Parsley, who is a former Navy SEAL, became a doc for the SEALs and understands the human system really well from that. We have Dr. Hamilton, my wife, who is a human performance expert from the military. She was retired last year after 30 years. And she worked with special forces. Megan Foley, who I mentioned earlier, our sports psychologist, she had been in the Army Special Forces and instructing them. We also had the Michael Osterlink there. We have all these people that have worked directly with special operators, and those are the people who truly represent that anti-fragile state. So, we've had in-depth work with them in helping to create this course. And most people can't afford $30,000 to $70,000 to work with us on a comprehensive treatment. But what we've done is we've created this course and put it at a price that we can deliver. I think there's 75 lectures, the short lectures in there on all the different topics of nutrition, on mindset. First 2 weeks was all mindset, and then we talk about environmental design and sleep and detoxification, all of this. And even in the end, we go from the I to the we and getting into community aspects to create anti-fragility. So this is really ideal for people who have had concerns about their immune system, but it's truly about creating anti-fragility across all spectrums, and making sure that you're in the best shape you can possibly be to deal with anything that's thrown your way. I mean, the special forces, they don't train for every specific scenario. They train to be good across anything that comes at them. And that's what we look at with the human system, is how do we create that ability for it to be anti-fragile in many different lanes.
Right. The special forces and their training and their final product, which is the special operators, is a great analogy for how you want your body to operate, because you're right, they don't know what scenario they're getting ready to go into. And that's the point, is to have such a fabulous anti-fragile foundation where you can go into any situation and thrive. Not just survive, but thrive. And I don't think, Dan, there is any other program quite like this. If there is, I'm not aware of it. I mean, it's just all encompassing in a fabulous program that you guys put together.
Yeah, and I credit our team. I mean, we've curated the best of the best in these subject matter areas, and it's not about everybody's out there as with a great depth of knowledge on a topic, but the human system really works well when you have a good breadth of knowledge. Right. So what you do is you create these teams where you have great depth in individual pieces on the team, and then you bring it together to create that breadth of knowledge that just creates such an impact.
Yeah, it is a fabulous team. I highly encourage everybody. I believe the link is in the show notes. I can't see it from here. I believe it's in the show notes. Melissa can verify if it's not in the show notes. It will be in the I'm pretty sure she did put it in the show notes. Fabulous. Dan, I can't wait to see you tomorrow night, man. You and Mike.
All right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to connecting again.
Yes, it will be fabulous. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person.
In person, at least.
In person, yes. In person. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day for coming on. I know you people out there did not see it, but Keith had multiple technical issues coming on, so I had to jump through hoops. Thank you very much, Dan, for holding tight for a little bit. And then to kick it all off, they decided to drop a tree in chainsaw right when I had to go. We're all good. Anti-fragile. That's what it's all about. We made it through.
We did.
So yes, for sure, check out this program. Believe me, you will not be disappointed. The team that the team at Apeiron put together is just fabulous across the board. You couldn't ask for a better a group of mentors, for lack of a better. I mean, it's all in their special areas. To be able to pick their brains and to be able to learn from them, it's just, you can't get there. You can't get that anywhere else. And especially now, when anti-fragile and being anti-fragile in all areas of your life are so very important. And I'm going to take my own medicine, and I'm going to continue to work on my shortcomings, because I truly believe that, the foundation.
They're not shortcomings, they're challenges, Keith.
They're challenges. Yes, they are. And they're challenges that I will overcome for sure. And I will be anti-fragile on the other side of that, especially in that area. I'm going to be the best relaxer, Dan, you have ever seen in your life.
I love it.
I will actually teach relaxation this time next year.
You will be the poster child of relaxation.
I will be the poster child of relaxation. Yes. Anti-fragile. All right. It's a challenge I'm willing to accept. Dan, thank you very much. Please give Micra a big hug from me and Michelle, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. For everybody else, thank you very much. Felt good to get back in the saddle. This is nice. I like this. All right, Dan, thank you very much.
Yeah, take care.
We will see you again soon.